Hello and welcome back to my channel. I felt that it's a great time to talk about a Christmas movie. However, I didn't want to talk about a Christmas movie that I've seen before. So I was thinking of films that I've never seen that are technically Christmas movies, and one of them was this particular movie that I've never seen but I've heard about, and it's called Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. When it first came out in 2014, I actually heard about it a little bit, but it was more about the controversy where Kirk Cameron was actually going on social media, which I think at the time was like Facebook or Twitter, but I'm not sure. But he basically went online and tried to make people go on Rotten Tomatoes, add in like positive comments about the film. However, it backfired because that's not how Rotten Tomatoes works. And people instead downgraded it to about 0% audience rating. So because of that, I was like, well, why not watch that? You know, like, it's been like 6 years. Like, I think it's a good time to like watch something. And then also, this is my first year doing this whole like movie reviews, so I felt like why not start off with a bad movie. In terms of the format of the film, I would say it's a really bad film, for one. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, it's pretty bad. And I had to watch it 3 times because the first time I watched it, I actually fell asleep after the first explanation of why, like, he's right and everyone else is wrong. And then I had to watch it again, and I went through the entire film without being drowsy or anything. However, I didn't really get it, and I had to watch it a 3rd time to understand what's happening. Overall, after watching it 3 times, well, actually like 2.5, but 3 times, I felt that the film was almost like a video essay for Liberty University, who was actually one of the producers of this film that we were given. I say that it has a persuasive essay because it starts off with like this intro where you could tell that Kirk Cameron is on a set. Like, this isn't his house. And it's like you have like the typical like Christmas set where you have like a Christmas tree, you have a fireplace, you have decorations. So he starts off by saying that he feels that people think Christmas has become materialistic and a capitalist holiday, which for a lot of people it's true. However, he argues that with every decoration and presents and everything that like kind of screams Christmas, it symbolizes Jesus's birth. And also mentioning that as he keeps talking, he keeps like talking about how much he likes hot chocolate, and he even tries to like mime that he is like drinking hot chocolate with a prop mug, but you could tell that there's nothing in the prop mug. So it's just like and I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, he's not even a good actor. That's the thing. The fact that he is like pretending that he's drinking hot chocolate, but yeah, you could definitely tell that he's faking it, shows that he's not a really great actor. Sorry, but it's pretty much true. And then it's also funny because it's like when I went further into Kirk Cameron's career and how he was on this famous 80s show, that apparently while he was on there as the main cast, there was also Leonardo DiCaprio and Ashley Johnson in the cast, but it was more towards like the end, like when it was like on its like 6th or 7th season. It's just amazing that Leonardo and Ashley have gone on to continue on their acting career and have actually become successful. And then you have Kirk Cameron, who can't even prove to us that he is drinking hot chocolate. So then after that whole intro happens, which in my opinion I didn't need, but anyway, it goes into a title screen where it is super busy to the 10th degree because you have these large, bold red titles that kind of are on the screen and kind of block, I would say, like 75% of the screen. Meanwhile, in the background, you have like the animation of the birth of Jesus being played out. So in terms of the animation, from what I was able to see, is past the title credits. You see animation of like Mary and Joseph like walking through the desert. But it's so weird because it kind of like changes like every few seconds. It first starts off with Mary, who is pregnant, of course, because she has Jesus. She's like walking with Joseph, but then it changes to her riding on a donkey, which then is changed to her like sitting on a flatbed that's being pulled by a donkey, and then Joseph continues walking beside the donkey. And then they also go to a barn, but then that barn changes into a cave, but then it also then changes to a valley. And then another thing happened, which was the wise men. First it starts off with 3 wise men, and then it changes to different variations of wise men, and then it all of a sudden turns into a whole army of wise men. And you're over here like, what's happening? Like it didn't really explain, is this just different variations of the story? Is this how it actually is? Or is it just saying like, oh, this is what some people say, but it's actually this? It doesn't explain anything, and I'm very confused by it. So then after the whole title credits and the animation and everything, so it starts off in the kitchen, and Kirk is literally talking to his sister about how much he loves hot chocolate, and like kind of being like, oh my god, this is like so cool that everyone's here. But most of the people who are there are mostly kids, with like maybe like 7 adults. So you could tell that most of these kids are not related to these adults, and that some of the kids are probably just friends of like the director's kids or Kurt's kids. While he's talking and boasting about how great Christmas is, like he's just standing there drinking hot chocolate, and then his sister is busy. And when I mean busy, I mean like she's pretending that she is moving things around the kitchen, but it's not like she's actually cooking or cleaning. So I don't know if this was like Kirk and the directors like feel that, oh well, we don't want to record while like the kitchen has like the oven on or like the stove on or have the vents on, probably because of sound. So they just have her literally moving stuff around the kitchen. So it's not like she's really busy, but they're making her act busy. And it again, it's weird because Kirk is just standing there watching her clean, and I'm like, wouldn't you like help out? Be like, oh, let me help you out, sister. So once that happens, then he notices that Santa Claus is there, and he's like, oh my god, Santa Claus is here. When did he come? How did he get in here? His sister says, well, that's Uncle Bill. And he's so shocked about it. He's like, really? It's Uncle Bill? Like, no. In my opinion, I'm over here like, you didn't see Bill go upstairs. You didn't see him say like, hey everyone, I'm gonna go to the store even though it's closed, or even though it's nighttime, but I'm gonna go out and get last minute items and I'll be back. And instead of leaving the house through the front door, he goes upstairs, and then 15 minutes later he comes downstairs. Like, you didn't see that? Then he asked her about her marriage. It's like, oh hey, like how's the marriage going? And she says no, like it's not doing well. And then he becomes very like, oh, what did he do to you? Like, do you want me to like hit him or something? And it's like, dude, like violence? Like, come on. She says that her husband is not feeling we should celebrate Christmas. So then Kirk goes to Christian, who is the husband and is played by the director. So he goes to Christian, and Christian's like telling us like, yeah, like I don't feel like we should celebrate Christmas. I don't feel that this is what we should celebrate. This is like very materialistic and capitalist, even though we already heard about this in the intro, but apparently we need to be refreshed after the 15 long credit scene. So Kurt and Christian go to Christian's car to talk about it. While they are talking, there's other characters that are introduced beside the sister. There is this pastor who, in my opinion, is very stereotypical of a black character, is really over the top, and like the way he speaks, it's very stereotypical, and I'm like, that's not how black people talk. It's very, I would say, offensive and racist. But you have this pastor who is sitting in, I'm assuming, the living room, and this random guest comes in, again, another adult that I don't know. They're over there drinking hot chocolate in the living room because apparently that's all that they're able to have. And while they're there, they spend the entire time there talking about how they can't say Merry Christmas or say any Christian things these days. However, like, instead of just like talking about it, they kind of hide their mouths behind like their mugs. So it's weird, and you could definitely tell that this is very heavily ADR. I don't know if this is the director's idea, if maybe because like there were so many kids in the house and that they couldn't really keep quiet because they had to keep themselves busy, but also like had to keep quiet while the recording. So I don't know if they were like, oh, let's just like have them like hide their mouths behind the mug, just like talk, and then we'll just ADR it. Like, maybe, but at the same time, it's pretty obvious that it's ADR. I think that when they're doing the mug, like placing the mugs in front of them, it's weird because it's like the majority of the people here are very religious. I mean, that's why they're there. It's just weird that why would you hide your face behind a mug and like talk code or like talk in secret if you're in an area that pretty much is like celebrating Christmas in a religious way. It's weird because it's like, I feel that with being in an area that is like accepting Christianity and accepting like Christmas as a materialistic and capitalist thing, but in a positive way, that's like, you don't really need to hide. I mean, I would get it if they're like maybe in a non-traditional like party, but it doesn't really need to happen. I think this could have been like a scene that they could have just cut. And I remember that when they were talking about saying, oh, we can only say happy holidays, like I feel like that they kind of like ignore the fact that saying happy holidays is saying that you accept everyone's like holidays, because not everyone celebrates Christmas. Some people celebrate Kwanzaa, some people celebrate Hanukkah, and then there are some people who just don't celebrate any of the holidays and they just have like a regular, normal yet boring day, and that is totally fine. They don't understand like why people are now saying happy holidays instead of just saying Merry Christmas. And then once the event happens, once they have this whole like secret like talk between each other, it's like we don't see them again. We may see them in the background, or we may see them like a little bit towards the end, but there really is no purpose of it, and there's also no point in helping towards the plot. It's just there. Back to Kirk and Christian, aka the director. I'll probably just say the director for the rest of the time. So Kurt brings up 3 reasons why celebrating Christmas and having all the decorations, everything, is a good thing. So it starts off with the blanket scene. So he spends about 15 to 20 minutes talking about how that the blanket that Jesus was wrapped in when he was born is actually the same cloth that he died in, that he was wrapped up when he died. And in my opinion, I don't think that this would accurately work, because wouldn't fabric at that time be very brittle, like after 30 years of use? I mean, that's just my opinion, because I know that like in today's world, like clothing is strong enough to last like about 20 or so years, as long as you take care of it. But it's like, I don't know that with the fabric at the time, usually just like maybe a cloth or like twine, and I don't know. But it's like a type of fabric that may not last as long as fabric today. And I don't know if this would actually be work, but again, never heard about this in the Bible, never heard about this when I was in church. So I think like when I watched this scene, it kind of reminded me that Kirk is probably one of those people that are very religious, to the point that they want to prove that they're more religious than other people. So they're like, oh yeah, like we do talk about Mary and Joseph, but what about the blankets? It's so weird. And I think like with the director, he was like, oh, that makes sense. Like that's like pretty interesting. And I know that there was like a snippet, I think, in between this and the next paragraph, where they kind of go like try to one up on each other on like how many Christmas songs that they know about. It's so cringy and it's very weird, because they sing, one person sings Jingle Bells and then the other one tries to finish it off, and then another one brings in like another song. It's so weird. There's no point in that scene at all, and also there's no point in anything of this entire movie. So moving on, the director brings up like, well, we have like Christmas trees, like, and it's like everyone's so focused on trying to get a tree, and then Kurt says like, well, there's a purpose to the Christmas tree. And he talks about how God has like an office that's filled with trees, and that since Jesus died on a cross, which is actually made of wood, that having a Christmas tree, preferably like a pine tree, that it actually symbolizes Jesus himself being like, oh yeah, he died on a cross, so here, this is why we have a tree. It's very out there. I kind of understand like where he's coming from, but again, it's like I never heard about this story. By this time, I feel that Kirk Cameron kind of reminds me of Don Wildman from Mysteries at the Museum, because the way that he's explaining about the Christmas tree or the blanket, that there's this like little like kind of like scene that's like being played out while Kirk Cameron's voice is narrating the scene. And finally, they talk about Santa Claus. However, it comes off into a very dark turn, because when the director brings up Santa Claus, because it is true that the Santa Claus that we see now was actually created by Coca-Cola when they were doing their holiday like edition, advertisements. And I know that Santa Claus is actually like derived from Saint Nicholas, but I would say Saint Nicholas is a little bit different than what the Coca-Cola Santa Claus and the Santa Claus that most of us know today. However, the funny part was that Kurt states that we should continue celebrating Santa Claus because he was the protector for God and Jesus. So whenever someone would talk bad things about God or about Jesus, that Saint Nick would find out and then go to that person and beat them up. In Kirk Cameron's eyes, he says that it's totally fine, but I mean, I know this, that in the Bible it states that people should love thy neighbor, treat others without any violence or hate or any rage. And for Kirk, it's like, oh, if it's Santa Claus, it's totally fine. But if it's a normal person, no. Which I kind of think that that's very hypocritical, but who do I know? After Kirk explains the 3 reasons why, the director is like, oh my god, like this makes total sense, and then all of a sudden loves Christmas without having any growth, and not even like arguing, like not even like doing like a counteractive. It's like, well, wasn't Saint Nick like created by Coca-Cola? Or like, well, I mean, isn't this like more of like a capitalist thing? Like, isn't that why people like say that it's this, because they want to sell things? But instead of having that, instead of having like some sort of like conflict between them, the director's like, oh my god, like I totally get it, and then like storms into the house in a very dramatic way. He like opens the double door front door and it's like, oh my god, and he's like staring at everyone, and then does like this kind of like slide, like he runs and then does a belly slide towards the presents. And then there's like a little bit of like more explanation from Kirk Cameron's voiceover, where as like the director was looking up at the presents, Kirk states that, oh, if you look up at the presents, like it looks like an outline of, I think, Jerusalem, which I am like, this is weird. Why is this happening? Why are you still explaining things? And while the director is becoming like a born again Christmas lover, Kirk is weirdly by the door just smirking. Like he has this weird smirk that comes off as very creepy in my opinion, and he's just there. And then there's like a little montage of the director having fun with everyone and then taking photos with Uncle Bill and then everyone else. Then it goes into the director stopping as he notices his wife who's in the kitchen. She finally moves out of the kitchen, so that's a good thing. When she goes to talk to the director, she comes off as like, oh my god, like we're gonna spice our life together, and was kind of inferring that she thought that he wanted to like get back into like making love with her more often. And it was kind of weird because I'm like, dude, you're in front of like a bunch of kids and a bunch of adults that probably don't want to hear this. Anyways, instead of agreeing to her about that, he says, no, I actually want to create a Christian hip hop dance group. I don't know if this was like, oh, this is supposed to be like a punchline, but it came off weird. The movie's over, but it also isn't, because there's still 40 minutes left. And then you could tell that that whoever wrote this, I think it was a director that wrote this, but it's like you could tell that they wrote the first half of the film and then they're like, yeah, it's great. And then it's like, oh shoot, we still had to like have like 40 more pages for this film. What are we going to do? Instead of like just going back and like adding in more conflicts with Kirk and the director, and then like maybe like other subplots, you know, maybe other side stories, like maybe about the wife, maybe about the pastor, like something like to at least like make this film interesting. Instead of that, they just automatically do this random like hip-hop dance move that all of a sudden everyone is like, oh yeah, this is like so cool. And I wonder if it's like, were they waiting for these people, for Kirk and the director to get back from their talk, that they're like, yeah, we'll like cheer for you, we just really want food. That they would do anything for food type of thing. But anyway, the dance move was not that great. And then they had this like quick dinner scene that after the hip hop dance routine is over, then like I think the director or Kirk was like, okay, let's all eat. And then everyone was like, yes. Thank God. Like I really hope that the dinner wasn't like cold by the time that they, after all this, after the talk, after the dance routine, after like the random like belly slide into the presents, I really hope that this dinner is not cold. In my opinion, I feel like that the dinner was actually real, and that they, like, it was probably like the end of the shoot day, because like they just kind of like randomly had everyone like just eat, and that was it. It didn't seem like they wanted to do more scenes or more like takes. It was just literally like one take and like maybe like little snippets of like other people eating, and then that's it. Like that's the end of the film. Not really. There is like an outtake. I would say it's like about 10 minutes, and it's not even a great outtake because it's just mundane stuff. Like stuff that's like there really is no point in rolling the camera or like having the camera on speed if you're not ready. Because there's like this one snippet where the pastor is talking and then he's just rambling on, and then the director's like, oh, like let's like do that again, but then the pastor keeps going, and it's like very awkward because it's, again, it's very stereotypical like trope, like, oh yeah, like this is how black people talk type of thing. And then there's like another one where the director's like, oh, my mouth is dry, like, and asks his assistant to get him water, and it's like still on, and it's weird because like I don't think he was even on the screen. Like he's like off screen, like probably sitting on the chair, and then like the pastor's like there, like kind of like waiting for this thing to happen. There's another shot of him by the front doors with like the light behind him, and then he's like, oh, there's like fuzzy stuff on my shoulder, can someone give me a lint roller? And it's just, it's weird because there's like, what's the point in having this outtake, or even all the outtakes? Like there's no point in them. Like no one is flubbing their lines, no one is like making it like a joke. It's weird and shouldn't be there, but I think that they just added because they're like, oh shoot, we still have 10 more minutes left and we need outtakes to make it seem like, oh yeah, we're still going. Honestly, this is a really bad outtake. Like all of them are bad. I don't really think that they're even outtakes. I think they're just random, like rolling the camera and you're not even ready type of thing. It's more of like a false take than an outtake. I would say like the best outtakes that you guys should watch is probably, I would say, like the Avengers. I think it was the first one. The Avengers outtakes are really good. There's also that one outtake with Chris Pratt talking about Kim Kardashian's comeback in Parks and Rec. That's also a really good one. Because, like, they're funny. Like, it's like they make a joke or, like, they flub their lines and then, like, everyone laughs. And, yeah, that's what an outtake should be. That's why they have outtakes. Finally, after all this, after falling asleep halfway, not even halfway through, but like falling asleep in the beginning, and then 40 minutes of just watching like this train ride go into a wreck, the film is over. So in conclusion, I would suggest not to watch this film. In my opinion, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth to even like make fun of it. It's just weird. It's a weird movie. And on top of it, Kirk Cameron decide like, oh yeah, this is a film that I want everyone to like, and even got to the point where he went on social media and be like, hey, if everyone can give my film like positive likes, that would be great. Not understanding that that's not how movie reviews go, and that's not how entertainment world goes. If I would have graded this video essay, I would actually grade it a D, but that's just being nice. I feel like that it didn't give like any conflict. Everything seems so easy for Kirk Cameron and his idea of Christmas. I also feel that it's boring. You can almost stop watching the minute that the director opens the doors at the beginning of the movie, and that's it. And I also feel that it's pretty offensive. Like, they basically have like the black pastor as a stereotypical character, and then also it's like this was made like back in 2014, and for some reason like this was like appropriate. And I'm like, no dude, it's not. It really isn't. And I think overall it's just sad. It's sad that while Ashley Johnson and Leonardo DiCaprio have gone on to do greater things in their career, that Kirk Cameron is doing films like this. That's it for me. If you like this video and if you've gone this far into the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want. I think that after watching this Kirk Cameron film, I may do like more Kirk Cameron films. Maybe I'll do like a series. I will be back next month with another video. I promise I will get it done. I will promise. See you guys later.